This is my project on inclusion and exclusion at Georgia Tech relating to COVID-19. My name is Jane Crowley. I'm a first year electrical engineering student here. The argument uh, that I'll be putting forth through this project is Georgia Tech's refusal to implement any enforceable policies surrounding COVID-19 in the school year shows a blatant lack of concern for the health of Tech students and the surrounding Atlanta population. They're the most exclusive force at play when it comes to the community's response to COVID for a variety of reasons that will be explored through this presentation. These are my talking points. So first, I'll go into the classes I'm taking and my own experience. So this first class, Math 1554, is the most inclusive class I'm taking because it offers virtual, in-person, synchronous, and asynchronous options. CS 1301 is the least inclusive class I'm taking because it's only synchronous and in person, and they also have quizzes every day. And if you miss them, you can't make them up. Econ is synchronous online, so a little bit of both, but it's not a very effective class. English 1101, similar to Econ, and the online format is difficult for facilitating conversation, which is important for an English class. So my second point, I want to look into schools policy surrounding COVID, specifically comparing it to the city of Atlanta's policy. So at Georgia Tech, everything is encouraged, nothing is required. You are encouraged to get the vaccine, you're encouraged to wear a mask, you're encouraged to get tested. Compared to the city of Atlanta, you're not allowed to require a vaccine, but they do require wearing a mask indoors. And you see this can be a bit of a problem, this wording of encourage versus required, because it allows for a lot of gray areas. So Georgia Tech has some mask incentives where students were given the opportunity to earn extra credit if they wore a mask to class, but this was taken away by the Institute because it went against GT's rules and regulations. You'll find that in most concentrated, most populated areas, people will be wearing a mask, but many people won't. And the way I see it, this is the Institute's way of not taking responsibility for the issue at hand. This is like if another outbreak occurs, the blame falls to the students. It's the Institute's way of getting out of liability, saving their own skin, to say. And this is purposeful. This isn't on accident. Georgia Tech is completely aware of what they're doing. Um, this is toxic exceptionalism, to put it one way. We've all heard of American exceptionalism, how Americans are a certain way because they're innately better or something like that, and it completely disregards an imperialist history. Um, and so this sort of um, mindset is really dangerous. The idea that Georgia Tech doesn't have to follow the same rules that Atlanta does, that Georgia Tech somehow is an exception to the rules. You see this in a lot of different ways. Uh, I think one of the most sinister examples is GTPD. Georgia Tech has a very hush hush mindset. What happens at Tech stays at Tech. People tell you that, oh, GTPD won't get you in trouble, but rule enforcement is very problematic because it's the university's way of keeping their public reputation within their control. If something is bad to happen, especially in the case of sexual assault, the university wants to control the media and the narrative on it, and they want to keep it under wraps as much as possible, which isn't always the best way to handle things. It's all about preserving their reputation. And the people who are most affected by this are the ones who are the most vulnerable. So this is the illusion of inclusion, um, where they put forth a policy that they claim to be inclusive, but it's actually exclusive. And since they're refusing to take proper action under the guise of allowing for personal freedoms, which is a deceivingly inclusive notion. Georgia Tech is ultimately excluding more students than it includes. My third point, I want to go over some general student attitudes and the effects on students' mental health. So generally, students will wear a mask, but there's quite a number of people who won't for a variety of different reasons. But going into some of the effects on mental health, isolation due to online classes that don't allow for the same kind of relationships, anxiety as a result of bad communication, and then being around people who don't take COVID very seriously. Apathy due to overexposure of this ongoing situation, and then a hopelessness because it's kind of hard to see the end, especially when there's no plan, there seems to be. So students who get COVID are moved off campus to a hotel and they have to miss in-person classes. That happened to one of my good friends earlier this year, and it was extremely isolating experience and induced a lot of anxiety because she couldn't attend her classes and she fell behind. And then I have had other friends who've reached out for mental health. And one friend went to Stamps Health Center. She was spoken to for 8 minutes, and then she was immediately referred to other counselors that she would have to pay to visit, or other therapists. So the students who get moved off campus are they're being voluntarily tested. They're simply the tip of the iceberg. There are many others who may be sick, but they aren't getting tested. So this off-campus solution really is only doing part of it. And then the institute's trying to be inclusive by not restricting choice, but in doing so, they're putting all their students at risk, which leads to more exclusion. So in conclusion, 1, GT class availabilities contribute to exclusion due to COVID. 2, GT should not have policies that are less strict than Atlanta's, as this leads to the vulnerable being excluded. 3, GT is avoiding responsibility for any liabilities by not making enforceable policies. 4, GT excludes its infected students by making them leave campus, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but these students are only the tip of the iceberg. And then 5, GT further excludes students by providing insufficient mental health services, which is necessary for allowing students to thrive on campus. Thank you for listening to my presentation. This is the end.